To be the baby in a household filled with women, three sisters, my late grandma, my mother, they would always give me so much love and attention. And at the age of 4 or 5, I would watch Rajinikanth movies and I would act out some of the scenes and always at the center of attention all the time, right? That was the kind of childhood that I had. That kind of led to a point in my life where I was like, I really want to do this. I want to be in front of the camera. I told my dad, I want to be like Rajinikanth,
Welcome to Speaking Human with Dr. Damini. Speaking Human is a storytelling podcast where each episode traces how voices rooted and connected to Asia first learned to communicate, from childhood dynamics through key turning points to the way that they use their voice today. The goal is to explore how communication shapes who we are and to make honesty, vulnerability, and courage culturally aspirational. It is not a show about polished public speaking tips. It's about the messy, vulnerable, and often funny ways we learn to speak to ourselves, to others, and to the world. The Speaking Human platform is founded on a simple belief: clarity in voice, courage in connection, and humanity in every conversation. In the studio with me today is Young Raja. He is a Singapore-born rapper, songwriter, entrepreneur, and philanthropist whose voice has been shaped by culture, language, and the experience of growing up between worlds. His work carries both confidence and curiosity, a reflection of someone who has learned to take up space without losing his roots. Today's conversation is not about the music or the milestones. It's about how his voice was formed long before it was heard by others and how he uses it today to make a difference. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you for having me, Doctor.
I'm gonna delve right in, right?
Please.
Because we've talked a little bit in the lead up to this about what today is about and what this podcast really is holding space for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really for the human being behind all the achievements and all the milestones and the music.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone who wants to find out more, if you don't already know who this fabulous human being is, you can Google and you can YouTube and you can find all the things that are publicly available. But what I'm here to talk to you about today is, who are you? Where does your voice come from?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the message that it carries?
Beautiful.
So go for it. Take it away. Tell me, I know that you were a child actor and that's kind of where you found the comfort of being and doing and presenting and being in front of cameras and using your voice. How was that even triggered? And then how did that translate to what you do today?
Well, I was born into an immigrant family that came from Tanjavur, Tamil Nadu. It was very interesting growing up because I was the last of four, right? So I was the only boy after three girls, and I was the only one that was born in Singapore.
Mm.
So by the time I came around, my sisters were already in their teens and my parents were still in that zone of trying to adapt to the Singaporean life,
Mm.
So I had the kind of household that was ever so loving. I was the baby of the house, a lot of attention on me. It was honestly one of the best things, looking back, to be raised in a household that was so culturally and traditionally intact. It was some of the best times. And to be the baby in a household filled with women, three sisters, my late grandma, my mother, they would always give me so much love and attention. And at the age of 4 or 5, I would watch Rajinikanth movies and I would act out some of the scenes and, it's always at the center of attention all the time, right? That was the kind of childhood that I had. That kind of led to a point in my life where I was like, I really want to do this. I want to be in front of the camera. I told my dad, I want to be like Rajinikanth, And around the age of 12 or 13, my mom was like, hey, go for this audition. They were doing this nationwide casting call for this Channel 5 drama. My mom kind of asked me to go check it out. And I went and I got selected as in the top 10 category. It was, I think 900,000 folks came It was an open casting call across all ages, all ethnicities, and I got selected as in the top 10. And I was a part of this show called Fighting Spiders, and I was 13 years old. But my parents always knew that I had a knack for acting or something that's entertainment related, because I was always not afraid to speak to adults, not afraid of attention, not afraid of getting on the stage. Like, I was that guy. I was the class clown. I was the guy that was loud, like during school, even within the family. Like, I'm the entertainer.
What do you think made, so immigrant parents come with a lot of their own sort of thoughts and ways of doing things. And, I'm also a child of immigrant parents, and I wanted to go to acting school actually in Australia. And as you know, I ended up going to dental school instead of acting school because either my parents didn't see the talent in me, or, that sort of immigrant mentality of, no, you've got to get a good, stable job. You've got to achieve XYZ thing before we can go down this path of pursuing your passions or your hobbies. What do you think was different for your parents? Like, was it them, or was it just your talent that was shining through that gave them the comfort to be like, no, we're going to go ahead and just support this?
I believe it was a combination of a few things. One of the biggest things would be the fact that I was born last, you see, as the fourth child. Like, by the time I came around, my mom was almost 40 years old. My dad was almost 50. So I think my sisters, they got the more strict.
So if one of your sisters, right, this is a controversial question, but if one of your sisters had said to your parents that I really want to pursue entertainment, or I want to be an actress, I want to do this, do you think your parents would have supported it the same way they supported it given you were a boy?
I don't think so. Only because of the circumstances. Before they moved to Singapore, it was really rough. Like, they were in Tanjavur, and you know how Tamil Nadu is. Like, people are not very open-minded as the community, Tamil community back in the 90s, Tamil Muslim communities. I don't think it would have been easy for my sisters to even have that thought, What was different for me is that when they moved to Singapore, I was born here and I was raised in a Singaporean environment. And I have Chinese friends, Malay friends, and I had a very different world, around me. Like,
what was representation like at that point? Because I'm guessing, especially in a Singapore context, like, did you have people? Because you mentioned Rajnikant, who I know you met recently.
Yes, I did. It's crazy.
How cool. But in a Singaporean context, could you see people like yourself and see yourself represented and work towards something? Or was this really kind of groundbreaking in a way?
It was definitely groundbreaking, because growing up, the only folks that I kind of resonated with were these Tamil actors that were from Tamil Nadu, right? And growing up in Singapore, I'm watching these shows, I'm watching these movies on Sun TV and Vijay TV. I'm like, that's, we're the same. But in an environment like Singapore, I mean, of course, you got your Vasandam artists and we're watching these Vasandam TV dramas or whatever. But I always felt like the community is so small and is so underrepresented in some sense. I mean, it's kind of contextual to the sample size, right? Like 5%. Like, so I kind of felt like who I was inside, I knew that from a young age. Like, from like 9, 10 years old, I'm listening to hip hop. I'm watching these Tamil movies and I'm talking in Tamil and English to all of my friends outside of home. And there was, like, I was aware of the identity that was being shaped within me as a first generation Singaporean born Tamil guy raised by immigrants from Tanjavur, right? And when I was looking at my environment from that perspective, from that identity POV, I couldn't really find anyone that was kind of like hitting the nail, that was like me.
Yeah.
Folks that think and speak in Tamil and English and are so fluent that they're essentially Tanglish in their DNA. And there's a uniquely Singaporean thing, which I've come to learn at this age. Like thank God my parents
Well,
moved to Singapore.
not everyone has that experience,
Not
right?
at all.
Like, and I think a lot of people do really struggle with this, I guess, third culture kids
Yep.
to some extent, but also this push and pull with your cultural identity,
Yeah.
right? There's terms in Australia, we call it ABC, like Australian born confused. This is people who really struggle with embracing their cultural identity because they feel like they have to push it away to be able to assimilate and be part of their new culture or their new home. Did you ever feel that tension? Did you ever feel like you needed to reject some part of you to assimilate and be Singaporean?
You know what was really interesting about that was I did feel like there were two very different identities that were kind of fighting with each other at times to see which needs to take the forefront at any given moment in time. But what was interesting for me was I was surrounded by second, third, fourth generation Singaporean Tamils that were really struggling with it. Like I could tell it was so visible that they are not comfortable with showcasing parts of their identities in a social setting. And it's almost second nature for them to like shun it away. Like just like hide it completely, right? Which I found that really interesting and sometimes funny, because being raised by immigrants and being raised by folks that are like Tamil Nadu folks, you know what I mean? The kind of foundation that I have when it comes to culture and tradition is very different from my peers that are third, fourth, fifth generation Singaporean Tamils who have already been naturalized in their way of life as Singaporeans, right? So I didn't have that, right? So I saw my grandma, my late grandma, my mom on the amikal, like literally grinding like batter for dosa and idli, and the way of life at home, even though they moved to Singapore, like nothing changed. So the kind of exposure and influence I had from the time I was born, like it is so intact. Like my relationship with my roots and my culture and traditions is like as unadulterated as it can possibly be. It's almost like I was born in Tamil Nadu-ish, you know what I mean? So growing up, like in primary school, secondary school, I'm looking at all my Tamil friends and they're like so shy and so embarrassed, right? Which was interesting for me. I never felt that, to be honest. I from the get, I was always comfortable speaking in Tamil because that's how I speak with my family members. But seeing my Tamil friends being that embarrassed and that shy, and it was kind of weird for me. So I was like, oh, I guess that's the vibe, you know? Like it made me feel uncomfortable. After a certain point, I was like, okay, I guess we're speaking English.
What did you do with that discomfort? Like, did it make you want to sort of shake these people up and be like, well, you need to embrace your culture? Did it make you question why you weren't feeling what they were feeling as a child? Because it's very different, you know, as an adult sitting here and sort of analyzing it,
for sure.
we see things very differently.
Yes.
But when you're in those teenage years and you want to be part of a group and you want people to get on, like what did your group look like and who did you feel most at peace or yourself with?
Well, I did have a few friends that were Tamil, that were so unapologetically Tamil. I could just be myself and just, you know, interact with. That was like the safest space growing up. But I always knew my lane, you know, like I always knew that, okay, my friends were not fortunate enough to have the experience that I had. You know, they are not confident with their ability to converse in Tamil. They're not, their foundation is not the same when it comes to me. So like, I never really took a stand with it. Like, oh, you need to brush up your Tamil or whatever. I could remember like once or twice when I had asked my friends like, hey, like, why don't we speak in Tamil? Like, you know, it's cool. Like, we can speak in Tamil. And it became apparent that they didn't think it was cool. So it was beyond just their ability to speak in Tamil was something else. So
Yeah.
that was confusing for me. It was probably associated with some negative feelings or some negative experiences that they may have had, growing up as a ethnic minority in an environment like Singapore. Sometimes,
I don't even know if it's an ethnic minority thing. Like, I feel like this is something a lot of Indians struggle with, and it's not something specific to Tamils in Singapore. Because I lived in India till I was 13, and even in a place like New Delhi, there are people from specific sort of socioeconomic backgrounds who would almost treat it like it's uncool to speak Hindi, right? Or like Hindi is the language that you speak to the help or the shopkeepers, but you would never speak it with your friends. And it's always something that I think made me question, like, why are we like this? Or what is it? Right? Is it like a colonial hangover, or what? Like, what's going on here?
It's weird.
But it exists, right? And I think it's actually, as a parent, it's one of the things I struggle with a lot, because as much as I want my kids to speak Hindi, and I try, like, I go through phases where I'm like, I'm only going to speak to them in Hindi for like the next few weeks. And then I'll do it and they'll be like, oh, Mom, like, I don't understand what you're saying. And I'm like, this is not okay. But I also don't know how to overcome it. I'm scared to push that part of them. For me, like you said, it was, that I'm so clear about who I am, right? It was never, Bollywood is like in my blood, or even like the traditions, the culture, the things that matter to us, it's so ingrained and there's never a conflict in me. But I can see for my children, and they are one more level confused, right? Because for us, at least, it was, okay, we're ethnically Indian and we're Australian citizens. For these kids, they're ethnically Indian, right? But the parents come from two different parts of India. They're Australian citizens. They grow up in Singapore. They speak more Chinese than they speak Hindi, right? Like, where do I even begin to give them that sense of anchoring that you have, right? That, like, where you just know culturally who you are. How, like, what advice would you give parents? Because I'm sure there's so many people in my position, right? And I know that you're not a parent yet,
not yet.
but you've been a child. So what can people do to provide that comfort of identity to people like us?
Yeah, I mean, looking back, I definitely struggle with my identities, struggle with feeling like true confidence and true peace with my identities. Growing up in Singapore, like, all my friends, most of my Tamil friends had that experience. Actually, most of my ethnic minority friends had that experience, because it's just a very different vibe here, so multicultural. School is like, all my friends in India, when they get to know what kind of an environment we have here, they're like, oh, you got so many friends, Chinese friends, Eurasian friends. So I couldn't make sense of it until later in my life, around like 19, 20 years old. And I was trying to find my voice. The question of what is my voice, when that entered my mind frame, like, that's when things started to change a little bit. Because before that, it was like, is this or that? Like, when I'm at home, I'm speaking in Tamil to my parents and I'm this Tamil boy. When I leave home and my friend calls me, I'm like, yo, what's up, bro? Like, da, 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 da. So I'm like code switching every day, and it's like seamless, right? It's like my mind is a computer and it's like, it's doing its thing. Of course, I wasn't analyzing it and trying to unpack it at that time, right? But yeah, I will never forget this time in my life, like right around army. Like, I was in NS, 21 years old, right? So 6 months before my ORD date, when it hit me, right? Like, I'm about to go out into the real world. It's time to get a full-time job. I'm done with my studies. I'm about to be done with NS. What am I going to do? What do I want to do, right? Then I was like, hey, I love hip-hop so much. I love hip-hop. I love hip-hop culture. I love hip-hop music. I love rappers. After Rajinikanth, after Kamal Haasan, after some of these Tamil actors, like rappers were the superheroes, right? So I made up my mind. I was like, I want to be like my superheroes. I want to be like 50 Cent. I want to be like 21 Savage, like Drake, like Kanye West. Okay, let me try my hand at pursuing music, pursuing hip hop. So I had this idea, right? The next thought that came into my mind was, okay, cool. Let's say I become a rapper and I make these songs. What is my authentic voice? Because every rapper has an authentic voice. Maybe if I had pursued country music or pop, I mean, no disrespect to any genre, right? Like maybe if it was a different genre, the question may have been different, right?
Yeah.
It may not have been what is the authentic voice. Because, as a fan and as an appreciator, as someone that really appreciates like hip hop culture and hip hop music from a young age, I have so much respect for it. The craft of it, the world of hip hop. And one of the things that I value so much when it comes to rappers is the fact that no matter what they're rapping about, no matter where they're from, they're always speaking from an authentic place of who they are, where they're from, what they are, right? So when I thought about that, it made me reflect. What does that look like for me? So I was in the zone of trying to figure out my vibe. Like, what am I? How do I what is the best way for me to navigate this? And as I was pondering on this question of like, what is my most authentic voice for a couple of months, through a pretty extensive experimental phase, I landed on this realization that, oh my gosh, like I am so Tamil and I am so English.
Yep.
And I can't let go of either one.
Yep.
And that was a realization that was so deep, innate. Like it was like I couldn't ignore this idea anymore. Like when I realized it, I just knew in my heart that this is the truth.
Yeah.
This is my truth. And at this point, it doesn't even matter what you have to say, what she has to say. It's like, it's undeniable, right? Like this is my DNA. And this is the aspect of my existence that is absolutely, it's the absolute truth of who I am and who I've been raised to be today as a first generation Singaporean Tamilian raised by immigrants, right? So this was the biggest breakthrough in my life, like one of the first and one of the biggest breakthroughs in my life, because it made me be aware of who I am in a way that was very different from any of the previous ideas that I may have had growing up. You know, it gave me a sense of assurance and a sense of validation about my identities. It made me feel this sense of clarity about these dualities that exist, because we all have that, like what you were saying, right? And I give credit to hip hop. I give credit to music. I give credit to the arts. For giving me this feeling of assurance, the fact that I can let these identities hang out
and coexist.
Yeah. Like, why should we feel any kind of insecurity or lack of confidence?
Well, I guess we feel that insecurity or lack of confidence because once you have that realization, right, you've achieved this like recognition, this understanding that like this is who I am authentically, I can coexist. Did you ever at any point, because obviously the thought came to my mind as I was listening to you say this, did you fear the possible friction of, is this going to sell? Right? Can I now monetize this authentic self?
I wasn't even thinking about that for a while, actually. Like when I stumbled upon this, like it was at least about a year before I had released anything that was kind of in line with this realization, But it was a sense of peace that came, in my heart. I was like, you know what? This feels so right.
Yeah.
This is the right way to go. Like, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to allow this friction within myself anymore, right? So that was like a great place to be at. because I've had that friction in my heart like all my life,
Yeah.
And I always struggled with like self-esteem issues, like confidence issues, like growing up, because I was a little chubby kid. And
Tell me more.
yeah, like, I mean, in school, like I was never taken seriously. I was always talking too much. The girls would never take me seriously. Like all the teachers, I'm the teacher's pet. I'm the class clown. And I was really short and really chubby. I was pretty cute. So all the girls would pinch my cheeks, like and I was bullied. I was bullied in school. So for me, self-esteem and confidence issues were like prevalent from the time I was in primary school all the way till 16, like secondary 4, right? So I don't think I was the kind of a confident person that I am today, like growing up. It was a difficult journey, right? And these are separate things we're talking about, right? Like we're talking about identities and like the insecurity and the confidence issues that come from that. I'm talking about a different thing. Like I'm talking about like body image issues, like, you hit puberty, like it's just, it's rough, right?
Yeah.
So all of that put together, it's a lot.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I had to work so hard to get to a point where I can like, reclaim my confidence in myself.
I feel like this is a really important
Yeah.
part of the conversation, right? So I don't want to move on from this just yet, because I feel like this is something so deep and so universal, right? That conflict of everything coming together and just how big it is and how overwhelming it can be at that stage in your life. And I feel like every teenager goes through it in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
Right. And I guess the other part that I want to focus a little bit on is the fact that you said, people today see you as this huge success story and they see this guy who works really hard, but, has achieved so much and is in the limelight and looks so at ease with himself, in front of camera, in person, just so easy to be around. But you said you worked really hard to get to that point. And I think that piece is the piece that people don't see, right? That piece is the piece that people don't often talk about.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit more about
Absolutely.
what that hard work looked like for you. Like, how do you reclaim that space and that voice?
Thank you for asking, because I would love to share about that, because this has been a long journey. When my mom asked me to go for that audition when I was 13 years old and I got selected as the top 10, it was the first time in my life where I felt this undeniable feeling of validation that felt amazing, And when you're a kid that's bullied and not taken seriously, when somebody gives you that recognition, that acknowledgement, like, hey man, you're good at this, it's like, whoa, I'm on top of the world. Like, and when I felt that feeling, I just made up my mind. I was like, you know what? I'm going to become the best actor Singapore's ever seen. I'm going to be great at this, because somebody has now, I think it was Gurmit Singh or Suhaimi Yusuf, one of these OG veteran artists that were on the judge, the panel. Like they were one of the judges. They selected me as part of the top 10. So that was an incredibly powerful moment of validation and reassurance that, hey, I'm good at something. And I latched on to that feeling.
Yeah.
And what that led to was the first moment of like ambition, right? Because prior to that, you're just a kid running around, like, just being a kid.
Yeah.
That audition, that day, was 2009. I'll never forget. Like, I had an ambition for the first time in my mind. I was like, oh, okay. I see this vision, right? Like, I'm going to be somebody great. I want to be somebody great. My parents would also, every once in a while, they would tell me stuff, over lunch. I mean, looking back, like, you probably shouldn't be telling this to a 10-year-old, but that also added to the picture, because my mom would tell me stuff like, son, like, we had you after 20 years of trying for a boy. We had three girls, and my mom wanted to try for a boy one last time, and after 20 years of like prayers, like countless, visiting so many doctors, my mom really wanted a boy. Like she really, really wanted a boy. And they went through hell and back to get to that point where they could have a boy, right? So my mom would tell me these things. And then she would also say, no, the reason why we wanted a boy is because in our culture, the girls get married off and the boy is the one that takes care of the parents at old age, right? So my parents would tell me stuff like, son, we are old now. Like we don't have the energy to just look after you or run around, run after you, we can't do that anymore, right? So you can do anything you want. You can do anything you like just, but the thing is you got to take care of us, that's, it's not like that's the catch, but like they painted the picture clearly for me to understand it. Like 9-10 years old, I'm like, okay, so I'm getting this luxury of
had
freedom.
A responsibility.
Yes, I knew at a very early age that I have this gigantic responsibility that's looming over my head. Like at some point, I have to take that seriously and take it upon my own hands, like to take care of that, right? So fast forward to like a couple of years after that. So I'm talking at this point in time, it's like maybe I was 9 or 10, 13 years old. Fast forward, I'm at this audition and I'm getting this boom. Hey man, you're top 10. Let's go. I latched onto that. My first idea of what ambition looked like, that started to form in my mind. And so many people don't really know this, but like at 13 years old, I started my journey as a freelance actor, right? There was this website called aadb.com.sg, Asian Actors Database.com.sg. I had to beg my dad to pay for this membership, which was $150 a year. And on that website, every day you get to put your profile, right? Like so I asked my sister to take a photo of me and I put my profile. I'm 13 years old, Indian ethnicity. I speak Tamil, I speak English, do a little write-up, upload my profile. Every single day on the way to school, in the bus, it was like a 20-minute ride, I would be refreshing this website for a casting call for a teenage Indian boy. So whatever roles that I could possibly apply for, I would refresh it every single day to find a casting call that I could audition for and just give it a shot, right? I must have went for hundreds of auditions, probably got like 20 projects in a span of 8 years. So for 8 years, from 13 till 2021, this was my effort, my daily relentless effort at trying to become an actor, trying to get involved, to be involved in a project that could be the boom, everything changes type moment, So looking back, like I would finish school, go take the bus, go for a casting call, finish that, and then go for another casting call, go back home. There were times when I did a shoot. I was part of this Japanese spy thriller movie that was shooting in Batam. And I would shoot overnight and then take the ferry back in the morning, go straight to Nyan Poly to write my exam at the lecture hall. All my friends in secondary school and polytechnic, like most of my friends, there was always this like disconnect between me and them because I took my ambition and took my passion and took my future so seriously. And I would be grinding my ass off. Like I'm telling you, like school was great. Like I just wanted to pass and I just wanted to graduate. But I had my eyes set on bigger things. Like even before music came into the picture, like I wanted to be great because at this point in my life, the responsibility had already kicked in. Like my parents are getting older. My dad had some eye issue that we needed funds to take care of him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, life things, right? So my grind and my hustle and how seriously I took that, it just snowballed from the time I was 13 years old.
That's incredible because, you hear this story again so often, right? Especially with immigrant families where, and not just immigrant families, but I think in the Asian context in general, where in Singapore they call it filial piety.
Yeah.
I always laugh at that term, but I think it does exist, right? This concept that like you are responsible for your parents, and as they age, you will step up and you will look after them, and it's part of your duty and your responsibility. And I don't think anyone questions that or argues with that. But you do see two types of people, right? One type, like yourself, who took that responsibility very seriously and turned it into very serious ambition and made that sort of fuel you in a specific direction. And then there's the other type of people who often end up quite bitter about having to take on that responsibility or having to make life choices that essentially lead them down a path that pays the bills, but isn't necessarily a life of passion, right? And I think I probably straddle the two because I think there are times where I used to be a bit like, oh, why did I end up at dental school? And this is not really what I wanted for myself. But I also recognize how much of a role it played in getting me to where I am today. And it really served a purpose. And I gained a lot from it. But I have the luxury today of stepping away from that and saying, you know what, I'm going to do what I'm passionate about and I'm going to focus on what I'm passionate about and not neglect my duties, right? Not everyone is as lucky, I think, as you and I are, right? I feel like you had the vision and the idea and the foresight to know that this is you and this is how you're going to make it, right? Like you're going to fulfill your responsibilities, but you're going to do it your way. What would you say to people who fall into that other camp, right? The people who end up, who either don't have a clear passion, right? Or don't have that clarity that you had of this is my track and this is my, way that I'm going to do it. And they end up kind of doing things for the sake of that responsibility. And it ends up shaping their identity and their life and their decisions in so many ways. What message would you give to them?
No, as you share this, I think what comes to mind that is like front and center is the fact that I feel so blessed and so fortunate that I had the kind of parents that never got in the way of my passions or my desires or my interests. They made it clear to me that, they're going to raise me in a very different way than how they raised my sisters, considering that I was born in Singapore and I'm the only boy and the age gap is so crazy, right? So they gave me the luxury of freedom. They gave me so many things that were not available to not just my sisters, but to my peers that are from the same community, Tamil Muslim community. The parenting is very different. So I feel so fortunate that my parents had the ability to be open-minded. That the kind of openness they had raising me is something that is so rare. I've literally not seen that in any one of my aunts or uncles. Like I literally don't know another family from my community that is like that. So it makes me wonder, like if I didn't have parents that were like that, I probably would have been like one of my cousins, probably would have led a very traditional path. Like I don't think I would have even had the space to think like what do I like, what are my interests? Because when I look at my sisters, they didn't have that. They didn't have that freedom of space and time to like sit and think about their
And
interests.
self-awareness.
So whenever people are talking about my accomplishments or what it always makes me think about those days when I was like 17 years old and I told my mom I want to go to Japan and she was like, yep, go to Japan alone. Yeah, cool. I was telling her that I love Japanese culture. Like, I want to go. What is a Tamil guy to know? Like, what business do I have as a Tamil person thinking about Japan at 18 years old? I have other things to do, right? But my parents never questioned anything. Even when I told them I want to make music, I want to become a rapper, my dad doesn't know what a rapper is. They don't know what it is. But even then, they don't question my decision or like my ideas. They have so much trust and so much love, full faith that whatever my son chooses it's right. It's probably going to be correct. They don't doubt it. They don't make me feel like I'm small. My parents never made me feel like I'm small. So I had the full support, right? So I am so fortunate that I had that kind of an upbringing. And I realized at this age that this is a rare occurrence.
Yep.
Not everybody has that privilege. It's a privilege. Like not everybody has that type of parents, the type of parenting, the type of environment to be raised in.
Yep.
And I count my blessings, and I'm very aware of the blessings that I've had, so, and this is the light. This is the light that my parents have gifted me with, and the only way I could give back is through gratitude and making sure that I do my very best at sharing this light, because I have so many of my friends that are also full-time freelancers, creative freelancers in different mediums, not all music, but like, it's a hard journey, to be in Singapore, to be a full-time creative, self-employed, all my friends, I share the story with them. Like I share my light with them, like by bringing them together, figuring out ways to grow together, to journey together. Because, I feel like I'm in a position, where I can share this light, because it is not just my talents or my doing that I'm here today. You know what I mean? Like there's no way I probably couldn't even have a conversation about my passions if I had a different kind of parenting.
Yep.
And I look at my cousins, right? I have so many cousins, and I see how their parents are like. My parents are nowhere near. Like it's not like, it's a different planet.
I'm not usually this quiet. I'm a little quiet at the moment because I'm actually very emotional with what you've shared, and I think it's given me a lot to think about as well as a parent. In the coaching sort of world, we talk about the basis of coaching being the fact that each individual human being is born with the innate knowledge of what is right for them, right? And I think what your parents did so beautifully is trust that in you, like trust that you knew what you were doing. And I think something that a lot of Asian families struggle with, and definitely people in, I wouldn't even say our generation, because I think you're maybe a generation below me at this point, but I think something that a lot of my peers, a lot of my clients struggle with is this sense of not having been empowered to make their own decisions, right? Having decisions made for them, and then as a consequence, not owning the consequence of that decision, right? And then you forever blame other people for what happens in your life because you're not empowered to make those decisions. And so I think everything that you just shared, it really made me think about how am I empowering the next generation, right? How do I build up my children and give them that faith and that belief that like they've got this and they know what's right for them, and then encourage and push them in the best possible way to achieve what they innately know about themselves, right?
Exactly.
Rather than building them into a version of what either my dreams that I missed out on or what I think is right for them, right? And I think it is something that people just struggle with so much. I want to thank you for sharing that, actually, because it was very meaningful. I also want to just take a moment to switch lanes a little bit and talk about, you said it's a struggle and you learned to own your voice and your parents really just supported you and trusted you. And you talked about the struggles of being an independent artist and a creative. You were with a label at one point, right? How did being signed with a label help you either amplify you? Because it would have helped amplify in some ways, but I'm guessing it also came with a lot of clauses that hindered or restricted how you could express yourself. So can you share with me, like moving on from sort of the family context and the background cultural sort of boost that you had to professionally, what boosted your voice and then what held it back? And why did you then choose to go independent?
Well, I'm still signed to a record label
Okay.
that is based out of New York,
Okay.
but it's a very different kind of setup. It's not a 360 deal like what I used to have.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different chapter,
Mm.
but I'm very grateful for the beginning of
Yep.
how my career began, like the foundational years of my career, 2018, 19, signed to major labels. And at that time, it was like the an amazingly timed event. At that time, when my best friend Farish Jabba, myself, when we came out into the scene as Malay English, Tamil English rappers,
Mm.
it was just, some things you can't plan. It's
Yeah.
one of those things where everybody was like, oh, what is going on? Like
Yeah.
with two new rappers from Singapore. It kind of got the buzz and the kind of traction that we didn't know that we were going to get.
Mm.
And what that led to was us being signed to labels. And we were kind of like the first generation Singaporean artists, Malay and Tamil artists that were signed to a major label, right?
Yep.
Which kind of unheard of in Singapore. I don't think we've had such a framework in Singapore before, because this is like the real deal, right? It's music business. You're signed by a major label. It's a global entity. It's a big conglomerate. Like
Yep.
it's crazy, right? And I'm just a boy from Teka, like Little
Yeah.
India. Like, how does you know what I mean? Like, I don't think we had those blueprints laid out
Yeah.
as like reference points to aim towards. That was felt like a brand new chapter for us as Singaporean,
Yep.
like true blue Singaporean artists, born and raised here.
Mm-hmm.
And to be in a position where we are sharing our authentic voices, we are our music has our language, our mother tongue in it, and to still be given the opportunity to like work with a huge company,
Yeah.
right? Like that was that. No, looking back, like that was so important for us,
Yeah.
right? That was an unreal level of like validation.
Yeah.
It gave us the kind of platform and the kind of foundation that we didn't know that we needed. And if it wasn't for those days, like I don't think we'd be here today, because those were the formative years of us as artists. We had just started our journeys as artists. It is also a very unorthodox journey. Typically, an indie artist would be around for like maybe 10 years or like five years, and one of their albums or one of their songs blows up somewhere, and a major label, any music label, would be like, hey, who's this artist? Let's sign this person, right? But for me, it was literally at the beginning. It was the first ever thing that I ever released as Young Raja.
Yeah.
Was already with a label. So the kind of backing, the kind of support that I had those years when I hadn't really made a name for myself just yet. I'm so new to the game. I'm very appreciative for the support that I got from the teams that I worked with before. And if it wasn't
So
for
it
the
was the
work that they
shifts
did,
then? Yeah.
So then I kind of went on in that journey for like 4 years, 4 to 5 years. And the kind of arrangement that I had was, I had my team, they were taking care of everything, and I was very taken care of. I was living a great life, like everything felt like, I'm a star, and like, it's just, I'm sorted. I don't have to worry about nothing. But what I didn't realize at that time was I didn't know really, like I didn't really know what was going on, in the sense of like, what is the music business? Like, what is going on here? Like, what is the contract like? What did I sign? What did I sign up for? What's happening? So it took me a couple of years to understand what I got myself into. Not in a negative way, just like
just to
I,
fully understand.
just to fully understand, because like I had just started my journey, and I got signed like almost right away. And it was all very quick, and it was all very exciting and very attractive. I managed to take the best from those years, like I managed to take the best, and I feel like I got to a point where I had to rethink about certain things, like what's important to me. What am I trying to achieve? What are my goals and my objectives? Before anybody else tells me what the plan is, I should know for myself what the plan is for myself. So I was struggling to find space during that chapter of my life. I was struggling to find space for my own thoughts to like come into fruition. Like for me to just be aware of like what are my thoughts, you know? So I realized that I just needed a little bit of a reset to just re-strategize my game plan, you know? So I decided to go independent for about a year. Just like a little bit of a gap year because the first 5 years of me being signed was so crazy. I mean, of course, we had COVID and all, but it was like it's go mode. Just going and going. We were going to Malaysia like every other week. So I decided to hit a hard reset and took a little bit of a gap year, try to figure out how I can build my own little studio, how I can make this process a little easier for my peers and I. What could we do that really improves the workflow, the operations? How could we build something of our own? Not like a label or whatever, but it's like whatever that we were needing, you know, a recording space, you know, for us to have the right equipment, you know, took us some years to get to it because to be honest, music business is like very expensive. It's a very expensive journey, you know. So it took us some years to get to a point of understanding and awareness. Like, okay, this is what we need to do, right? So today I have my recording studio in Woodlands. It's called Octave Sound. We have a artist services company that essentially provides artists from any end of the spectrum, right? It could be an indie artist, could be up and coming artist, could be someone that has no songs but wants to make songs, could be a signed artist too. But then we have a space where all of them can come and record new music, can get A&R consultation from industry professionals like my partners, Shaurya and Omar, who have been in the industry for almost 15 years now, full time. A&R consultation, mixing, mastering, original composition, all the way to distribution. Like you can get the song released. We have a deal with Empire. And this is an artist services company that I don't think existed in this way in Singapore. But it took me like 9 years, took us like almost a decade, like journeying
to get there,
to understand what was missing, right? I mean, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun a little bit, but going independent came at the right time because I needed to reevaluate what I have to do and what my plan is moving forward. And that led me to an amazing new chapter where I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Essentially, to take matters into my own hands and to form my own team. You know, put certain things in place that allowed a different type of movement for myself. Like I have my team set up in India. I have my own agency here that takes care of my management in Singapore. It's amazing. Like
I love that. We have a couple of minutes left.
Yes.
Sorry. I want to, we talked about intention, right? And you said that for you, this phase of your life is about being more intentional about what you do, what you put out. And I think it sounds like you've worked so hard for the last 9 years to kind of build, and I'm sure it's not the final thing, and you know there's still iterations and changes that happen as you build. And you know, I feel long may that continue. Because long may you sort of adapt and adjust as you go. But what does that intentional look like today? And what does speaking human mean to you today? And what are you hoping in closing to achieve going forward?
Well, I would like to share about the fact that today I'm in a position where I can openly tell you that I'm no longer moving from a place of passion. I'm now moving from a place of purpose. You know, some point in my journey, maybe about 2 or 3 years back, I felt that switch where it was no longer the fire of passion. It was something deeper, something stronger, something more undeniable. And the reason why I say purpose is because I've come to realize the value of my position that I've been gifted enough to have. It's not just my doing. For all we know, I could have tried everything under the sky and nothing could have worked, right? Let's be real. That that there's a huge amount of things that had happened that I simply can't take credit for. Things beyond.
Yeah.
Right place, right time, right individuals coming into your life, right? We can't control that.
Yeah.
So today I feel like I'm in a place, a very unique place, a special place, a blessed space for me to be able to share that with you and with my peers and everyone that I'm doing this with, If you ask me what speaking human means to me, this is exactly what it means to me, to be able to speak about the gifts that one possesses, like whatever blessings that we have that we can share with others. I feel like that's the light. At the end of the day, what is our goal? Our goal is to help others. Our goal is to spread joy, spread light, spread love, uplift people along the way. Because it's not about the end goal, the destination at the end. It's about the journey.
Yeah.
It's about the people that you journey with and the connections that you make along the way. And if like one person listens to this and if it makes their day better, gives them anything positive, even if it's for like 2 seconds, that's a win.
Yeah.
Because life is hard and it's challenging. Life is of suffering at every angle, right? If we are here today and we are able to spread that light to at least one person, like that's all that matters, right? So I want to thank you for like making this happen and for having me here and for allowing me to speak from my heart.
Thank you so much for being with me today, Young Raja, and for sharing your light and spreading this wonderful positivity. And I think the key takeaway for me from today is just, as you said, life is hard. There's so many conflicts and frictions and ways in which our identity is shaped. And I think my biggest takeaway, as I was saying, is as a parent, what can I do to support the next generation, to give them the confidence to be who they are and really shine and give them that trust that they know what they're doing and just support them fully.
You.
So thank you.
Thank you too, Dr. Damini. It's been a wonderful time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the Speaking Human podcast. I'm Dr. Damini Chawla, your host. The purpose of this podcast is to create a society where honesty, vulnerability, and human connection are culturally aspirational. As such, we've asked every guest on the podcast to choose a charity that they like to support. We've included the details of this charity of their choice in the information for this episode. Please feel free to make a donation if the cause speaks to you. Thank you for joining us once again. Do like, follow, and subscribe.